Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
That's great. Now let me see. Give me a moment here. There we go. And can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so I will just back up. So thank you for having me here. You can set a timer and wave a flag. I'm delighted to give you my pitch for a new social enterprise that I've been working on for about a year since I arrived at Harvard, and it's called Reworlding. So what I'm going to be talking about today is reworlding, and this from the lens of spiritual ecology. So if you see the screen, spiritual ecology is really about slow practices, and they're inherent in sustainability infused with environmental stewardship just naturally. So what reworlding is and spiritual ecology really is actively opposing our take make waste economy and creating something beautiful and life-giving. So here are just a few things about a spiritual ecological approach. And coming from this perspective, we look at situating ourselves as, humans as part of the ecological environment. We also acknowledge that outside of a Western scope, um, our indigenous and practices from ancient wisdom often have very different sets of beliefs regarding the environment and its protection, preservation, and just how much we rely on it for human life. Um, what I am looking at for part of a master's project to do with this is just emphasizing the profound connection between our human hands and making co-creating the objects with the materials that we use. And in this way, we often see the environment as something sacred. So I'll jump into my pitch now. Annie Leonard's profound insight, there is no such place as away, fuels our passion. It's not merely about clothing. It's a battle cry for equity, justice, and it's woven into our very being. Imagine this. Each discarded garment tells a story of extraction, production, and waste, leaving a vile mark on our planet and its people. The Industrial Revolution reshaped our relationship with clothing, shifting from meticulously crafted pieces to mass-produced commodities, which are laden with petrochemical fibers, as we've discussed here today. The hand of humanity, once intimately connected to the land and its creations, became estranged in the face of mechanization. Yet amidst this change, a seed of hope has sprouted. Reworlding calls us to reclaim this lost connection, to weave a new narrative, sustainable collegiate wear, deeply rooted in spiritual ecology. It's a journey guided by ancient wisdom and nature's rhythms, reminding us that true abundance lies in the reverence for all life. At its core, reworlding recognizes the intricate dance of existence in wealthy cultures obsessed with novelty and excess. Our locally crafted garments made from upcycled materials naturally naturally defy this throwaway culture. At its core, reworlding recognizes the intricate dance of existence. We acknowledge with transparency and humility the disproportionate effects on the global south and seek collaborations of inclusion to address these systemic inequalities and uplift marginalized throwaway culture. Each piece embodies holistic well-being for ourselves, our communities, and our shared planet. It's a shift from plastic trashing to enduring natural goodness, from exploitation to equity, from indifference to consciousness. As we confront the crises of our era, our mission surpasses mere sustainability. It's about nurturing love for ourselves, our communities, and the living earth. It's about redefining our identities beyond material possessions. It's about bettering the quality of our relationship with the entire world. But rewilding isn't just a label, it's a movement towards collective healing and ecological harmony. Our collegiate wear isn't just clothing, it's a call to action, a tangible symbol of our interconnectedness with all living things. Through education and advocacy, we inspire individuals and communities to embrace regenerative practices in all aspects of life. By supporting local artisans and cooperatives, we pave the way for economic empowerment and self-determination. So, are you ready to join us in this gentle yet radical journey? Let's spread awareness, put the planet before profit, and ignite a revolution in a world craving genuine connection and purpose. Choosing reworlding means shaping a future where every garment embodies resilience, renewal, and boundless love. A future grounded in justice, equity, and beauty. So I'll just flip through these, and I would like to get to some questions, if I may.
Perfect. Thank you.
So to the audience, what I'm looking at right now is how could a social enterprise respond to the two-point problem of the fashion industry and the disconnect from our environment. So I would just put that out there and welcome any thoughts and anything that anybody would like to share on that.
Thank you for the pitch, and anyone who wants to jump in and comment, you can raise your Zoom hand and we can enable your volume, or alternatively, if you want to respond in writing, you can just use the Q&A box to share a response or a question.
I'll just flip it back to the questions. Maybe I'll just elaborate a little more. If there aren't any immediate questions, what I'm currently working on are various artisanal practices that delve into the co-creative process between artisan and material, as I mentioned, emphasizing the connection between the human hand and objects that they create. And the practices themselves encompass weaving, design, fashion arts, and textiles. And all of these practices offer profound insights into craftsmanship, sustainability, and the circular economy. So I'm looking at spiritual ecology in relationship to industrial ecology, which would be inclusive of the circular economy for the latter part of that. For instance, we imagine if in the making there was a way to see the thousands of fingerprints that touched each garment. Or question, what if we were aware of the intricate journey in the global production chain, from the fiber source, to its end of life? What if we knew the story of the people living and working in regions in worlds far removed from our own? Our clothing is primarily made by hand still. What if we knew their life stories, and how they labor throughout the process, from soil to soil or soul to soil? What if we understood the modern apparel industry's impact on human health and the earth? So these are some of the questions that prompt us to reconsider the value that we assign to our clothing and the choices that we make in consumption. The artisanal practices also invite us to ponder how our consumption habits could be reshaped and reduced if we potentially diverted more time towards learning how to care for things by hand, laundering, mending, making, repairing. And I'm curious to know to what extent or if that would shift or alter the way that we relate to our possessions, our identities. What does that do to reshape our identity? Often we define ourselves by our things and possessions. And to the extent of how it affects the way our worldview and the interwoven fabric of existence. So these are just a few of the head, heart, hands questions that I address in the work that I do. I'm currently working with local Latinx women's sewing co-op and a number of other local social ventures in just getting this off the ground. So looking at just reimagining the values that recognize the dignity that's inherent in all life and the interrelationship of all matter, I believe is a key to fostering a more sustainable and mindful approach to slowing production, reducing consumption, and prolonging the use of all things and regenerating a beautiful living earth. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. I have a question, and it looks like we have received some as well. So I think one of the themes that we've kind of seen throughout today is this tension between like the profit motive and some of these values. And I think social enterprise, at least my understanding of that word, is often something that's proposed to sort of seek some type of balance between those competing objectives or to create alignment between them. And so I'm curious how you foresee doing that in this work. And then perhaps the question that was posed, how will you integrate equity within your work, can also, I think, relate to that in some ways. So
yeah, so I'm looking at the question. Thank you, Amanda, for asking how I envision integrating equity into this. So in looking at various structures for nonprofit, not-for-profit. I'm from Canada. I'm looking at both in Canada and here, as a charitable organization or foundation. What so far the conversations around that have been directly with the women in the co-op, who collectively make a decision on, the type of work that they want to do, to ensure, a living wage for them, an alternate source of income, and just, a living wage, and ensuring that, first and foremost, that they're happy with that and have, quite a large say in the development of the project as participatory action methods.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We have just like one more minute. If anyone has any other questions they wanted to pose or any other comments they wanted to offer. We also have the poll at the end of the session, where you are welcome to share any additional thoughts or questions you have via that, and you can provide your contact information to get in touch with Ellen.
Okay.
So we have one more question. Can you expand on your thoughts and ideas on the power of storytelling and how to share those stories?
Oh, this is such a great question. And, the power of storytelling and narrative is just so pivotal, I think, in this work that we do. What I'm looking at is, integrating, there's a real pedagogical component to this that involves QR codes and short clips and video and documentary that tells the story consensually, of course, throughout the process of production. The various individuals who are involved in their co-ops, if they want to, if they care to share their experience, how this may have changed their experience, their lives, where they came from, how they've been impacted by this particular blight on the planet, as we see in plastic waste and toxins in so many different parts of the world. I think that, a lot of the individuals who are in the production aspect from the outset of the current industry, they're doubly bound by having the waste, from the West being shipped right back to them. And so there's inequity at the front end with human rights and labor and social justice issues, as well as environmental issues, but also on the tail end, as we send our things away, so to speak, so as not to burden our own landfills and incineration air. But the thing is it's all connected, right? So I think that's a really critical piece, really critical story to tell, and the environmental and the health impacts and the spiritual impacts. In the end, we're all suffering as a result of the new secular religion of consumption,